I'm Mark Callahan, Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com. We've got the Mega Matrix 120 in place, and before I dive into setting it up, I want to answer the question that we've been getting a lot, which is, what gear are we putting on this build? And on this build, I'm using gear that I've never used before. I want to go a completely new direction. There's lots of brands in the saltwater aquarium market, and I want to try things that I haven't used in the past. From the lights, to the pumps, to the return pump, to the sump, even down to the media reactor. I'm using brands that I haven't used before. And I reserve the right to remove any of the brands from the project if they're not up to my standards. Lots of ways to skin the cat in the saltwater aquarium world. I want to try something new. With that, let's dive in, starting from the top down. For lighting the Mega Matrix 120, I'm going with the Orphec Atlantic V4 panel. Orphec is a company that's been around the LED lighting game for a while, and I've been watching them from the sidelines. So when I go to these trade shows, it seems like every year there's a new LED lighting company. When I go back to that same trade show a year later, that company isn't there. Orphec's been around, and I hear good things about their lights. Wanted to try one out, so this one's going on the Mega Matrix 120. Moving down the tank for in-tank flow, I'm going with the Seashea Syncra SDC line of pumps. These pumps are DC powered, which means they're fully controllable through a controller or through an app. This little guy cranks out 2,250 gallons per hour, and I'm going to put two of them on the Mega Matrix 120, one on either side of the tank. Moving further down into the tank, rock. Since 2009, I've been an advocate of using dry rock in your saltwater tank, and I've been using real reef rock on all my clients' builds for years with great results. And on this tank, we're going to bring you a SaltwaterAquarium.com exclusive Real Reef Blackout Rock. Now this is the regular Real Reef rock that I've known to come and love, and it's painted black. It's colored black to give it that black high contrast look. It makes the fishing corals pop, especially when you pair it with a white sand. So we're going the Real Reef Blackout Rock on the Mega Matrix 120. Very curious to see how this rock ages over time, and of course I'll be posting lots of photos of how good the fishing corals look against the high contrast black. The Real Reef Blackout Rock is going to sit on top of the Reef Flowers Pearl White Sand. This is the whitest sand that I've ever seen for a saltwater tank. It is, no kidding, white. I use this sand in the budget build series, and I've been happy with how it looks over time. This sand is also very clean, so you don't need to rinse it before you put it into your saltwater tank, which will save you valuable time on the install process. Since the Mega Matrix 120 has an overflow box, that means I get to put a sump on it, which makes me very happy. The day that you upgrade from an all-in-one saltwater tank to a saltwater tank with a sump, you become a very happy reef keeper. Sumps keep all that nasty looking equipment down out of your way, so when you look at your tank, all you see is the beautiful fishing corals in it. On the Mega Matrix 120, I'm going with the Tideline 30-inch sump. Now if you followed me for a while, you know I'm an advocate of using the biggest sump that you can fit under the tank. So the Mega Matrix 120 is 48 inches long, so why am I only using a 30-inch long sump? Here's why. Most of us have space constraints when it comes to our saltwater tanks. We have to fit as much gear as possible underneath the tank and within the footprint of the tank. That means putting your gear inside the stand. And that's exactly what happened with me on the Mega Matrix 120. The ATO container had to fit inside the stand, and the sump did too. That means the sump had to get a little bit smaller. Even though the sump is a little bit smaller, I still got all the features that I was looking for out of the Tideline 30 sump. To get water out of the Tideline sump and back into the Mega Matrix 120, I'm using the Seashea Syncra SDC 7.0 pump. This pump has a lot of nice features that caught my eye, and one is something very simple but yet very useful. A strainer. Now that just isn't any old strainer. This strainer has part of it blocked off to help avoid getting a vortex sucked down from the water surface and creating micro bubbles back into your return line. I like that, and of course this pump is DC powered, which means it's fully controllable. I don't have to put a ball valve after it to control the flow or try to guess which size pump that I need. I can buy a slightly bigger pump than I think I need, and if it's too much flow, I simply dial it down with the controller or with the app. Some of the water that's on the way back up to the Mega Matrix 120 is going to pass through the SpectraPure MR2 dual media reactor. This is a very smart media reactor that caught my eye. One side's GFO and one side's carbon. Here's what I really like about it. You can control the flow rates individually on each side of this reactor. GFO needs a different flow rate than carbon, so why force the carbon to have the same flow rate as the GFO because the carbon is plumbed in right after the GFO? The answer is you don't have to do that. Each side has its own valve, so you can dial in exactly the flow that you want to get your GFO to gently tumble and get the carbon to hold still. To further prevent your carbon from tumbling, the carbon side of the reactor is intentionally plumbed backwards. That means water goes in the out and out the in. This reverse flow in the chamber pushes the carbon down and prevents tumbling. Now that's smart. I've had my eye on the MR2 dual media reactor from SpectraPure for a long time. Now I get to put it on a build. With all this talk of gear, I've left something out. The protein skimmer. Yes, I'm going to run a skimmer on the Megamatrix 120 and haven't decided which one just yet. The jury is still out on this one. There's a look at the gear that I'm using on the Megamatrix 120. I'm excited to try out some of these new brands and see what I think about them. With that, I'm going to stop talking and start installing. I'm Mark Callahan, Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com. I'll catch you in the next episode.